like, this is a cool little piece of gadgety tech that we'd really like to implement in this. Can we do this now?
And I'm sure there's occasions where that piece of tech doesn't interact with the other things they already plan to use, and then you're trying to solve that problem
all the time.
There it is.
It happens all the time.
285 pounds.
know.
Just saying.
We were there, man.
The thing's fucking cool.
Listen, I don't know about the hug thing John said, but the sentiment was right. I know it's an awful lot of tool talk for an episode that's not about tools.
Right, exactly.
Welcome everybody to the Ice Shower After Work podcast. John and I are happy to join us in the job trailer at least once more. As always, John's across the table from me. How are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic, my brother.
Did you have a good week?
I did. I'm having a great time. The crew that I'm working with, and it's not even my crew. It's a bunch of, right now I'm just kind of surrounded by pipe fitters and stuff. They seem to have a pretty good attitude. So
could be worse, man. Could be bricklayers, right? Shout out to the bricklayers.
Shout out to the bricklayers.
Shout out.
But this week is kind of a fun week. We got another guest in, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. This one kind of came up quick. Usually we try to have to schedule them a little in advance, but fortunately our guest was available right away, so here we are.
Right. I had him waiting in the wings for a while. So Mr. Pete Heiniger, how are you doing today, sir?
Hello. How are you, John?
Fantastic, my
Welcome
man.
to the podcast, buddy. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on.
No, we're in the infancy, and it's nice that people are willing to give us a chance when it's still early.
Right. We say that we're podcast apprentices. So that's why it's kind of a train wreck.
Get a little better every day. It seemed like a really fair comparison given the nature of the podcast, right?
For sure.
But yes, we've got with us today Pete Heiniger, journeyman tech, AV foreman. Really, man, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Give us a real quick rundown, if you don't mind, of your current family situation. You got a wife, you got kids, what's going on?
I have a wife, a beautiful wife, and two beautiful daughters.
Oh, what are your daughters' names?
Catherine and Penelope.
Cute.
16 and 11, both going on 30 and 25 respectively.
Yes, as usual, right?
I'm sure. Yeah. What ages did you say?
16 and 11.
And that's Catherine's a 16-year-old?
Catherine's a 16-year-old.
It sounds like you got a busy house there, man.
Yeah, it's a busy house. It's exciting.
Keeps a man honest, right?
Yeah. The only other male in the house is our dog. One of our dogs.
That at least helps. As long as there's some presence there, man. Even a cat would be something, like any backup at all.
Right.
Sometimes he and I have our definitive moments. Hey, man, that's just not okay what she just did. And I said, I know.
Right.
You know, I'm right here, brother. We're just going to sit through it for a minute.
There really is real moments where you can look at a dog or a cat and they have an emotional, interaction with you. Like, you can see a dog roll its eyes like, can you believe this shit?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's actually what they're thinking, right? So it's always fun. Go ahead, John.
So you're in the AV low voltage world, and that's why I was excited to have you on, because I think that gets really overlooked a lot as far as the construction industry goes. People tend to not realize that is a trade on its own.
Crucial trade on its own.
Especially as we progress and things go. So break down your job history, even before you decided to be a low voltage tech.
Okay. I'll try and do a quick resume here.
Yeah.
I started out doing car stereos for Best Buy in 1998.
As all classy high school students did.
Right. Absolutely. So I was into management, but I didn't like management the first year I was out of high school. And I just need to learn something. I want to do something. I want to feel better about what I'm doing every day. So I started working on car stereos and did that for about 6 years. And then I got married and decided to make a shift change, went into residential home audio systems right when 5.1 surround sound and DVD players were being released.
That was the big thing, right?
Oh man, projectors and
there was a boon there for like 8 years. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so I was in the residential side for a few years and ended up somewhere along the way traveling. A few years later on, I did some traveling for a very popular sports bar around America. And so did that for about 2.5 years and traveled and then came home. And as soon as I came home from traveling after a couple of years, went into the union and started doing some commercial work and got into the commercial AV side. So I have stayed really focused on the entertainment side of audio and video and low voltage and the things that happen really after construction is done. So that's been where I've been for 25 years now.
So what made you decide to go the union route when you decided to come home? Because you could have stayed in, especially in the area we live in, you could have definitely stayed in that residential home audio with the high-end houses and the theater systems that are going in now these days and the intercom systems and stuff. What made you make that shift of like, hey, this is what I'm going to do now?
So I, at one point in time, I had my own business for 3 years and ran my own business. And in that time frame, I can tell you that there's a lot that I learned as a young adult with a young toddler and things like that, first child. All those things kind of came around at the same time, and I knew that I had to do something bigger.
Yeah, your life was busy, pardon me, before you went to work.
For sure.
So that's a lot, yeah.
Right.
And so when I started traveling for work, that was for primarily financial reasons. I needed to make money.
As a lot of people have,
Yep.
yeah.
And you can do pretty darn well if you live meager and you work a ton of hours on the road because you don't have the family commitments and things like that.
Right. Which, just to be clear, you did at the time.
Yes.
Have the family commitments you had to consider as well, yeah.
Yeah. So when I traveled, I was out for between 6 and 8 weeks at a time, and I would come home to my family for 3 days. And I did that for 2 years.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, that's a long stretch.
And when we came back on top, it was great. We cleared ourselves up personally and took care of some personal stuff because of that. But yeah, I needed something more stable, and I needed something that I could get some benefits from. And the union had the best benefits, and kind of got recruited into the company, and they said, you got to join the union to come be a field guy for us. All right.
Well, made that decision pretty easy at that point. Huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
And
All
it
right.
brings up something, I mean, we talk sometimes people about are very staunch union or non-union one way or the other. Even Pete just said it the same way that everybody does. You got to join we got to change that up a little bit. I'm trying to think of a better way to say it because I've been conscious of this for a long time.
Right.
It's a terrible way to say it, but it's the way we all say it. You
Yep.
got it. Yeah, it just sounds so like they're making you do it. You know what I mean? There's got to
Right.
be a nicer way we can say that, even though, I mean, yeah, you got to join, but like,
Yeah. I mean, in most aspects, it's pretty simple. It's, what's in your best interest.
yeah, hopefully they presented better at the time, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have to get recruited. I went right in, like I was down.
Right.
But yeah, if I was being recruited, hopefully they handle it in a more political way, I guess.
Butter it up just a
Yeah,
little.
make it sound nice. Like, guess what we're going to do for you today? Again, we are all pro-union guys here. We're just joking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So give us a breakdown of the types of construction environments that you're working in now. I know you mentioned a minute ago that you kind of focus on entertainment and audio and things, that side of the coin. So that's, as you said, kind of after or very near when the building's being finished. What's the average day that you're doing now? Like, what's the most common work you're seeing?
So right now I am leading a crew at a technical college, and they are remodeling a 4-story, 2-story combined building, and converting it to an upgraded thing. And they gutted the whole building. So they went all the way down to structural, coming back all the way. So the entire infrastructure of data and everything has to be completely rebuilt. So this particular section that we're doing is really technology heavy on the audio and presentation side, because these are all pretty much classrooms that we're dealing with. Classrooms and huddle spaces, and device interactive things have to be available in every single space. So
Wow.
what we're working on is making sure that the technology infrastructure is in place such that it finishes out in a specific way. And it's
there's
kind of
no
an
doubt
interesting
there's
thing.
there's a lot of precision needed to do what you're doing, because we have a little give sometimes in how and when we do things, but I would assume in your end of the trade, it's got to be real specific. They need power for this device right here. I don't think there's a lot of playing around. Do you get good direction about that, or do you get to figure out a lot for yourself?
Typically, there's pretty good direction. If you know about the project in advance, which I did, I knew about this project coming a long time in advance. So I had time to kind of study things and figure out which way we needed to go, and how we're going to put it together for the whole crew. So that was really helpful. But if you don't, then you hope that you have a really good engineer that gives you good information on the front side.
Well, that's what we're all hoping. That's trade related all the way across the board, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Go ahead, buddy.
So I don't mean to step on you,
No,
Jason.
not at all.
The thing that I noticed, because I've done my fair share of low voltage AV audio. Being non-union, I had to do it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Way back in the day. The thing that I noticed, and it probably still applies, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, here, but like as far as the electrical side of things, there's not a whole lot of future planning. It's just you know what, down the road, if you need to get an outlet over there, it can be done. Just don't worry about it right now. AV side, you have to plan for future expansion, because people may say, yeah, I need this here, this here, this here. But you know damn well that when the project is done, they're going to be like, oh, can we add this? Like, this is a cool little piece of gadgety tech that we'd really like to implement in this. Can we do this now?
And I'm sure there's occasions where that piece of tech doesn't interact with the other things they already planned to use, and then you're trying to solve that problem.
All the time.
There it is.
It happens all the time.
Do you think that's because of just a lack of knowledge of what things take, or just a lack of planning?
It depends on how well designed the project is. If they had a technology engineer that did something for it, if it's a big enough project that it does that, where things are engineered on the front side, typically it's not that bad. But when it's a design build, that's a completely different story.
Right.
And yes, it's forgot about. It's the voodoo magic stuff that they don't want to deal with. When the walls are painted and the lights turn on and off the way that they want them to, and the machinery happens, and as soon as they can get Wi-Fi,
right,
hey, the job's done. We're finished. We're good to go. Meanwhile, the conference rooms are still down. Still need tech. Still need devices that are, back ordered or whatever.
Right.
That there's, oh yeah, but now we're there. We're in the space. Now we need to make this space do this and this. Oh, cool. Got it. We're on it, man. We'll take care of that.
Good one. That is the way we feel sometimes. You're like, all right, gotcha. Let's get after it then.
Sure.
You brought up something there quick, Pete. I just wanted to ask you about briefly. We've talked about it a number of times, especially over the last few weeks. Are you having or noticing any extra trouble getting parts and material and devices these days?
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore. Okay, good.
Not so much anymore. The last 3 to 4 months have been really promising.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Things are coming very quickly and
Sure. Supply the fucking AV tech, but
thank
fuck the
God.
regular
Yeah, fuck
electricians.
everybody else, right? Yeah. Well, at least you're getting your stuff. No,
to
that's
be
good
fair,
to hear.
we had almost a 3-year period where some things were a 2 to 3 year back order.
Okay, so yeah, you went through it, but you're starting to see the other sides. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we see that soon.
I hope it catches up for sure.
But we'll have to see what happens. So it's and on that note, with all the all the boosts in technology and the jumps that things have made, that must have added some interesting work to what you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, TVs and the projectors and everything. I mean, the projectors aren't so much anymore, but what you can put in for an audio-visual system in a home and the way it can be controlled is crazy these days.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Is it is there a big learning curve, I guess, is what I'm asking? Is stuff just getting thrown at you all the time? You're trying to learn what it is?
Technology changes really quickly.
Right.
I would say about every 6 months, there's something new, and there's a modification that happens to previous equipment. Oh yeah, by the way, now that we changed this, and with the availability of firmware updates and software updates and things like that, things can happen very, very quickly.
Right.
So, yeah, technology has sped up significantly in the last decade.
Sure.
And introduction of the smartphone.
Good.
The personalization of content, and now you can carry around in your pocket what you want.
We're proof positive that every jackass got a podcast now. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Pete. Go ahead, buddy.
And when you have that kind of availability to you personally, you want to broadcast that. And there's on the commercial side and then in the industrial side, communications are a whole different ball game.
Right.
And what you're allowed to do and what you can and cannot do in spaces, and how that has to be controlled. So that's a lot of fun to get into those situations. Speaking of the project that we're on right now with my crew, shout out to my crew. The crew is led by Leah Dormanen. She's doing a great job leading the crew.
Shout out Leah.
Shout out Leah.
Leah, Al, Jake, and a new guy, Adam. Adam is a brand new guy to everything.
Greenhorn?
Yeah.
Shout out new guy Adam.
Shout out.
Fresh
new
meat.
guy
Actually,
Adam.
and Alan Jake. Shout out to Alan Jake too. New guy
Yeah.
Adam. All right. Well, good luck,
Yeah.
new guy Adam.
Yeah.
Don't let Pete be too much of a dick.
Well, and you know what? It brings up a real good point. I'd like to ask you a question on that note. I'm glad that came up. What do you tell a brand new person getting into your end of the industry here when they're first coming on? Like, what sort of advice do you think they need to hear? Because that's what this whole podcast is supposed to be about, is getting more people in the trades. What areas are you focusing on with this? Because the new generation is certainly different. We've talked about it numerous times, right? You're more hand-holding and less pitching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you find is the direction you're going in, how you teach your apprentices and the younger people that are into the trade? I mean, what's your I'm struggling with my words here. You go ahead. How do you lead them these days? What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, so as a foreman and as a team lead, I kind of view what I do as more of a teaching role. I'm making sure that someone can come in behind me and take my place.
Right.
And that's how we all progress each other during the process.
That's what we've been touting here this whole time. Yeah,
so as we get into that realm of things, I really want them to slow down. Don't take it all in one bite. Don't
It's good advice.
try and get caught up in this and that and the other. And then you try and think about, what do you do as a leader to avoid those circumstances? What takes some of those things out of the mix? And this is so old school, but I make them use radios on the job site.
Really?
Oh, no. Now, what benefit are you actually seeing with that?
They're off their cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You have to be connected to
Your
your
cell
radio.
phones are
They
in your
have
pocket.
to-
You
yeah.
have to be connected to your communication with each other.
It's
has
the
to
radio,
happen to
not
the
your
radio.
phone. Yeah.
That's a fantastic.
That's a lot.
fantastic
That's a
point.
lot to try
So-
to do at the same time, watching Instagram and answering
Yeah.
somebody,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
I can do it. I can do
So-
it, but whatever.
So I've got a
That takes
few
years of
reasons, and I'm going to start with the number one, which I tout very heavily. I'm very hard on safety. I don't want anybody to hurt on my site for any reason.
That's me too, man.
Yep.
And so it's a safety thing. Keeps people heads up when they're walking around. They can see what they're doing. So safety first. Second reason is they don't get distracted. And the third reason, they have easier communication between each other. It cleans up the language in the job site as a whole, because they know that they're being broadcast to anybody around them. They're not talking to anybody in their ear.
Oh, you certainly would speak differently over an open radio channel. There's no,
we all do,
not
right?
everybody.
Yeah,
we all do.
But we all do, right?
Yeah.
It just keeps it clean all the way through. And
Man, you're taking the vernacular right out of the job site, you dick.
well,
Yeah, man, what are you trying to stop construction workers from cursing? Like, yeah, I want the sun to slow down too. Come on now, what are we talking
No,
about?
I'm not trying to single-handedly stop it. I think it's great.
If you think it makes a good work environment, then good on you. Like, yeah, that's
Right.
I like the radio idea. Actually, I'm joking, but that's
actually
a really smart idea. Yeah.
brings a good point to it.
Yeah.
And do you find your apprentices these days are enthusiastic? They want to be there, or is it just a job? We've been hit or miss on how they react these days, right?
I think a lot of it has to do with their view of their leadership. If they don't think that you are doing your job as the lead dog, whether you've got a tool in your hand or not, if they don't think you're doing your job, they're not buying in. They're going to put in their time. They're going to do the minimum, and they're going to do that. But if you give them a reason every morning while they're stretching, hey, this is what you're going to accomplish today. This is what we're all going to accomplish today, and this is how we're going to do it. And lay it out for them. Spend a few minutes communicating.
Yep.
It changes the whole attitude of everybody. Everybody ends up having a purpose. And man, the greatest reward is having a job that you can go to that you feel like you have a purpose.
We've talked a lot about that on this podcast here, and how imperative it is as far as leadership goes. To one, if you're the type of leader that just beats your guys to death, they don't respect you. They don't want to be there.
Never.
They want to be there to collect a paycheck, but past that, they see no real point as to learn anything from you.
Yeah.
You know, and we've all been there. I'm a current foreman. You're a current foreman. Jason will spend time doing foreman roles.
Yeah.
And we've all had the opportunity to lead groups of people. And I always tell the guys, you know, one thing that I've decided to make a shift, and I used to not really care about it, right? But recently, and probably the past like 5 years, actually, a relatively new mindset that I've decided to get myself into is that I want to be the guy, and I want to be the leader that if somebody has a complaint about me on another job, I want somebody else to look at them and go, what the hell did you do to piss him off?
Mm-hmm.
He's not that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Like, you did something.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that leader, right? I want to be the leader that the guys aren't afraid to come to with questions. Or, you know what's worse, and I'm sure you see it too, when they make a mistake, right? Because shit happens, right?
Yeah.
When they make a mistake, I don't want my guys or my gals to be afraid to own up to it.
Yeah.
Be like, dude,
Yeah.
you know how much stuff I've screwed up in my day?
Yeah.
Like, take responsibility, fix it,
Yep.
but don't be afraid to mention it. Be like, hey, or if you don't have a good idea of how to fix it, be like, hey, man, I just screwed this up and I don't know how to fix my shit.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll help you out, man. We'll get it taken care of. Yeah. So,
it seems common sense, right?
right, it does.
But all it takes is for one of those little decisions to break down. So if you're a young apprentice out there, or if you're a journeyman running other people, keep in mind that this may happen. Try not to make them feel bad if they don't fess up right away, even though you know it happened. Like,
right.
If one of those things breaks down, that communication doesn't happen. But when it does, that does make for a good learning experience for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Owning up, like you said, owning up to your mistakes is crucial.
Absolutely.
And being
Yeah.
a leader of the new generation coming up, it's imperative that, God, I'm not going to use the term that everybody else is using, but
Coward.
It's imperative to, no, we've said.
I know we said, but it's okay. I'm teasing you, buddy. I'm teasing you. Go ahead.
They need to feel comfortable and okay in the space that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it. They need to feel like it's a safe spot to be screwed up in.
Yeah.
Right. That's the term that we don't want to use here, but that's the vernacular that I'm using. It's fuck safe space, whatever. But they just need to have that what's the word I'm looking for? Confidence to know that, you know what, I'm not going to lose my job because I made a mistake.
Right. And absolutely. And even if, as we've said so many times, skins are a little thinner these days, but also for the young people who might actually listen to this, who are just getting in or thought about it or whatever, we hope eventually we make it to people who aren't even in yet. That's the whole idea.
That's the goal, right?
Keep in mind that this is what's going to happen, and that is a good thing, that you're going to take some verbal abuse occasionally, right?
The audible correctiveness.
The audio, the aggressive auditory corrected. Like, you know, you're going to get bawled at sometimes, but that in itself is a good thing too. It's a learning experience of, when do you get upset to see a leader that's cool-headed or a crazy, like, hothead? Right. That is a development in itself, to see the different styles of leadership. And you're always going to get balled out. Don't let that stop you from having a job. At the end of 4 or 5 years, you're going to stop getting balled out. Right. And then start balling people out, and it'll be okay.
Right.
But anyways, side topic there. Sorry. I'm a little passionate about this part of the trades. I'm passionate
Mistakes
about this part
are absolutely okay.
And they are.
As long as you learn from them. You know, if you keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over and over again, and then you laugh about it every time, well, that's going to be a little different story for you.
Okay.
But
that's the only time I've made an apprentice cry. I was correcting him on that problem right there.
I was a little surprised, actually, when you brought up the making the apprentice cry a few episodes back. I've never made any of them cry, at least not in front of me.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever been mean enough that any of them ever went home and had a cry. Like, I certainly hope not, but I don't remember one. I was really against you when you first said them. Like, oh man, you're an asshole. You made a fucking apprentice cry. And then I got a chance to think about it. I'm like, nah, some of them I probably could have made them cry and might have helped them out a little bit, you know?
Right.
So I just wanted to vocally on the record say, change my opinion on that. You were right. I was wrong.
Yeah, sometimes that's what it takes, but that's not the goal.
No, it's certainly not the
I'm
goal.
not making that a goal, right? It just happens to happen that way. So
when it happened, no, hold on, you're not getting away that easy. So, whoa, yeah, hold your horses there.
Pete, come to my rescue, man.
No, hold on. John went out on a limb here, and I'm going to cut this limb off, I think. I just want to put you on the spot, just for clarification for later. Would it make you a little bit warm inside when somebody did cry, though?
A little bit.
Yeah, see, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure position was clear. John's not a saint in this whole thing. He tried to pass himself off as real nice there. No.
No,
he didn't hate when that happened.
No, I really didn't, because it was the last straw of a long-term situation that was happening.
Fair enough, buddy. Fair enough. Okay.
Now, if it's like the first time and they start to cry, it's just like, all right, like now I do feel bad.
Oh yeah, if it's Wednesday morning on week 2. And they're bitching about the week being long. Like, no, man. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Go back to work.
So on that note, God, fucking rabbit hole, Jesus.
My fault, folks. I take full responsibility.
So Pete, when it comes to, I kind of want to pick your brain about the.
Are you sure?
Yeah, a little bit about the current state of the construction industry when it comes to the low voltage side. Because again, and I'll reiterate it, I think, and it's a damn shame, right? And I see myself on both sides of the fence, or stuck on both sides of the fence when it comes to on the job site. The low voltage guys, one, are looked down upon, which we need to fix. Because the people that are looking down on the low voltage side of things, they don't know how to do their job.
Yeah.
Right. Now I give you shit because, hey, guess what? I actually do know how to do your job.
And for me, who doesn't, I give everybody shit. It's not I'm just giving low voltage shit. I shit talk every trade. You're not like innocent in this whole thing. I'm taking all comers, right? Yeah, that's all.
Because they think, oh, that's just data. That's just techie. That's just, that's not important. We can deal without that. Now I kind of wish that you guys would learn how to bend more fucking pipe by yourself. Jesus. But that's a side note.
If I got to bend one more stick of red, not our agreement. Look, folks, I know we say it's union and non-union. Just happened to be 3 union guys today. We do support non-union here, but that's a great union joke, buddy. Not my agreement.
You like that?
And that is true. Yeah. And also, I mean, then it gives a chance to hang out with the other side of electrical when we are there bending pipe for something they're doing.
Right.
Guys,
Exactly.
we don't cross each other on the road too often.
No.
We work for the same company, Pete and I should have mentioned.
Yeah.
Pete and I both work for the same company, both driving vans. We're out there in the real world. We haven't really come across one each other yet.
No, not too much.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stationed on projects, and you're more on the
And
service
I'm moving
side,
around
so-
a lot, yeah.
You're moving around.
Because I only thought about it because of the pipe thing. I have had to show up and run 20 or 30 feet of pipe a couple times. So, and I did roll my eyes like, you couldn't run that? Like,
Really?
I know it's not in your agreement, but you could have fucking done that. Like,
Well, I'll tell you this. I know some low voltage guys that I've worked with in the past that can bend pipe real
great.
well.
I'm glad to hear some
And
people are just getting after it.
there's a few out there.
I'm glad to hear
but
that.
For the most part, we start getting into trouble when we start crossing the trades when we're not on the same team with the electrical company.
Yeah, and that's just
a good point. That's a
joke.
real good point. You're
When
not
they
always
catch
working.
that, and then they're like, "That's a lot of pipe. Are you sure we shouldn't be doing that?"
Yeah, dude.
And I don't personally like that argument. When I know it's going to be a bunch, when I know we're going to be doing it in our own environment and we're running within our limitations, yeah, I'll have our guys do pipe for sure.
Right.
I've got one guy on my crew that we need a pipe. Okay.
Right.
And if it's under X amount per day for this, sure.
Right. It's just another rule that you have to keep track of, which I just think is bullshit.
Right. I'm a big proponent
Indeed.
of the union. I've been staunch about it since we started this whole thing. The union is great for me. But yes, there are certainly rules that get bent. I don't agree with rules being broken, but I mean, sometimes to keep the work going,
Yeah, indeed.
there's
Yeah.
got to be some reasonable.
Absolutely.
Yes, the letter of the law is the letter of the law, but let's all agree, trade wide, we're bending a few here and there to
Right.
get the job done.
We always are.
Don't you always want us to get the job done? Like, fuck, we can't do everything. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want that out there in the real world. That's going on every day.
So back to my question. Let's full song crawler. So what is the state of the construction industry as far as the low voltage side from your point of view, and you're looking out and you're looking kind of how everything is? Where do you see the state of the low voltage thing?
I think we're in another launch point.
Ooh, really? Interesting.
I think that there's more of. I think there's going to be a bigger push towards interactivity. We have interconnectivity with everything now, and interconnectivity as far as having a building or any building, from a house to a stadium, anything, you're going to have a connection host. There's going to be a way for you to be connected. And as that has grown and now we have a connected, now the next point, I think, is interactivity, which brings a whole other level of complexity to the.
When you say
thing.
interactivity, give us an example or two of what you're talking about. What kind of interactivity do you mean?
Okay. In the classrooms that we are currently working in, they have a microphone that broadcasts to speakers in the room from the presenter, and the presenter shares their information. But anyone in the room that's connected to Wi-Fi can also share to the displays in those rooms.
So not just projecting a pre-planned image or something that they were drawing on a pad at the moment, but actual interactivity.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Actual interactivity. And, something that's been out there for a long time for iPhone users, FaceTime.
Yep.
That kind of, hey, not only can I talk to you on the phone, but I can see you. I can see where you're at. I can see what's going on with you.
Android had it first. Just say.
I know.
If you haven't listened to that episode, folks, go back and
Indeed.
check that one out. Apple versus Android was a passionate debate.
That one was never posted. I just got to put that up.
It was That one never made it?
No.
We'll put that behind a paywall for anybody who wants to give us booze money.
Yeah, we have it. We do need booze money.
So yeah, I think that's a little closer to where we're headed.
Right.
The rooms that we're working in also have an interesting technology that happens to be few decades old in use, but I'm just running into that kind of tech the first time. Technology has so many different variables of what's being run by what and what system does what and things like that. So one of the more complex things that we're doing is phase array assisted listening systems.
Explain, please.
I wish we had heard about this before our conspiracy theory episode. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. That sounds like a conspiracy theory right down the
I'm interested to see where you go. Go ahead. Tell us all about this, buddy.
So say that again. Phase array?
Phase array assisted listening systems.
All right.
Ooh.
Give us I'm an idiot with technology. Give us the dummy version of what that is.
Even I haven't even heard of this.
People that have assisted listening devices, hearing aids.
Okay. Which my wife does.
Your wife?
My wife.
Right, right.
My wife's hearing impaired. Yeah.
Do her hearing aids have T-coils?
I have no idea.
Probably.
Sorry, Darryl. I really don't.
If they're somewhat advanced,
they're Bluetooth enabled, so they probably
this
do.
very last set that she finally got, I think about a year ago. Yeah, it's right to her phone, Bluetooth, all that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to have them.
Okay, so it probably has T-coils. She'll be able to walk into these classrooms and immediately pick up what's being discussed and talked about in the classroom.
Oh, I like that.
Right. That is impressive.
Yeah, I like that.
So these systems, simply put, you can put if you're just doing a single broadcast area and you don't worry about overspray of wireless functionality with those systems, you can just run a single loop around the room and then the same thing happens. The difference is that if you have classrooms that are 8 inches apart from each other, wall to wall,
right,
you have to overlap and re-engineer how your loops are laid out. So there's a cancellation process. So our cancellation process
Poor Pete.
is...
He talks with his hands too.
Sorry, folks.
So
Before we got going today, I tried to let him know that when he got passionate about something, he'd be banging his hands on the table. He did pretty well up until now, and then as soon as he caught himself, he felt bad. Don't feel bad about that. It happens, man. We're not running a professional thing here. It's okay.
Jason used to click the pen all the time.
I used to click the pen all the time. Yeah, showed up on the audio. We've talked about it before.
So these systems have a very specific area that they cover. And so we have to lay these systems out underneath the carpet.
It's not a ceiling grid system. It's a carpet grid.
Wow.
Closer to the interactive voice and
right
stuff of the
underneath
person.
you.
Yeah, it's right. Microphone right there.
Yeah, 3 feet below you instead of 5 feet above you.
Yeah. So when I went to go get my certification to even be able to do these systems, which now our company is one of 2 in the region that's capable of doing these.
Nice.
And Pete just made himself irreplaceable.
Nice. Partially.
No, there were 3 of us at the certification.
That's your fuck up.
But I learned that these exact systems are used commonly in stadiums and large auditoriums.
Big long-term projects.
Right.
And,
just the best kind.
Yeah, most of these are, put into piping that's built into the flooring and built underneath specific seating areas. So
that's impressive.
Walk into a facility and you have certain seats that you walk to, and then your T-coils pick up what's going on, and you get a direct feed.
Now, if I can ask one follow-up question on that, and that was a cool one to bring up because I never knew that was going on, and that's great.
Nope.
But I have to assume that that's not specifically for people who are wearing hearing aids. The same technology would be today's average student that walked in with a headset or an earbud or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're talking about that same sort of connectivity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes. I just want to clarify.
Be the next phase of this equipment, and most of the equipment has all of the hardware now built into it. So these upgrades are certainly capable in the future.
Smart, right? Smart, right? Test a product on a much smaller sample group because the amount of people with actual hearing aids, you can really focus in on what works, what doesn't. for a future rollout to just whatever Bluetooth device is in your ear. Man, they're thinking ahead.
That's impressive.
Technology can be something till our AI overlords take over. No, I'm just joking.
Right.
Just joking,
Yeah.
folks. Just joking, folks.
Yeah.
Just a side question. We were getting to know each other a little bit. Pete and I, as I said, do work for the same company. We don't get to work together often, so we hadn't had a chance to get to know each other really well. He, as a coincidence, just happens to be old friends with John. So, Hey, we got a guest.
Hi.
Hi. My wife, Michelle. This is our guest, Pete.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Welcome to my wife for the first time on the podcast. I take it you're taking off?
Yes.
All right.
I wanted to come by and say hi and meet you.
I appreciate
Nice. Thank you.
Good to see you,
Nice
dear.
to meet
Yeah.
You
you.
having fun?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. See you guys later.
it. Have a great
See ya.
time. See you after. My wife, Michelle, everybody. Her first time that I just put her on the spot earlier. I'm glad that worked out the way I had planned. I said, oh, yeah, you got to come down and talk to Pete. We'll probably be done recording. I want her to get on mic. Involuntarily, I made her do it.
She's a dear.
Yeah,
she's
a
awesome.
sweetheart, yeah. And she does like to meet all the guests, too. So,
Nice.
but what
Well,
I was going
we
to say
are in
was
her
before...
home.
Yeah, we are in her home, too, right? That is part of it, yeah. Like, she does like to meet everybody that comes into her
Yeah,
home. I
that's
understand that. So we got a little sidetracked. What I was going to ask was, we were talking before when we were getting to know one another a little bit. You're the drummer in the band, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the band, man. We
Oh,
all
God,
need-
yeah,
we
side
all
quest
need-
here.
we all have the thing that we do to enjoy our lives when we're not doing the day-to-day grind of construction.
Yeah.
Yours
yeah.
is a band. Tell us about it, man.
I just hate my life.
So interestingly enough, we'll actually tie this in right at the very beginning here.
Perfect.
The reason why I got into stereos and music and this and entertainment, I wanted to be a musician when I was in high school. Always wanted to be a musician.
And you've been a lifelong drummer.
I
what I understand,
started in high school and I had a drum set after, but once I figured out partying, the drum set kind of got stored for a few years, and then it got
Happens
sold
to the best of us, buddy.
then I had no drum set for like 15 years, and a friend of mine starts playing bass and says, "Hey, you used to play the drums." Ah, come on, man. I haven't even picked up sticks in 15 years.
Hey, man,
Are you
same thing
kidding?
happened to me being a goaltender in hockey when I moved to the States. Like, that was a while ago, buddy. I get exactly where you're coming from. Pete, continue, my man.
And so we started kind of having some jam sessions and starting to have some fun with it. And fast forward 2 years, and we run into a group of really talented people, and we just started little garage band jam sessions. So
Right.
I worked my whole career on the other side of the business.
Right.
The one that sets up all the gear
On
for
the
the
back
musician
end.
on the back end and
Right.
doing all of that stuff. So I've mastered some of those things on that side of things, but as a musician, it's kind of a new thing.
Right.
We got together a little over a year and a half ago. The name of the band is LB3, or the Little Bit Better Band.
The little bit better
The
band.
Little Bit Better Band.
I like LB3.
Hey, that's pretty slick.
I
You
will
know-
say, though, a little bit better band. Still rose off the tongue pretty easy.
Very well, yeah.
Well,
LB3.
we're not karaoke. We're just a little bit better.
All right.
That's fair.
You sold me.
Yeah,
And-
that's
You
fair.
sold me.
If there's something that you didn't like this time that you saw of ours when we were live, well, hopefully next time we'll be a little bit better.
That's how we take this
Man,
podcast.
that's the whole idea of this podcast. Completely.
Just
You
a
just
little
summed
bit
it up
better next
perfectly.
time.
You just summed it up perfectly.
So we're an offshoot of LB3. A little bit better.
Patent pending.
We're having a good time. It's kind of tough. We got a band of 6 guys from 5 different cities.
That
Oh,
is
that's
the tough
impressive.
part of the band. Getting everybody together is tough, right? You got to be committed.
Yeah,
You really have to be
Yeah.
committed.
yeah. And I hear that everybody likes what everybody enjoys it. Every time that we have a show, we have somebody hitting us up to do another show, and we have to decide as a group over a few days whether we can all be in the same place at the same time, and can we even rehearse for this? What songs are we swapping out? And things like that. So
Yeah, people don't realize, like, we get a little bit of taste of that, Jason and I do, because you're taking time away from your family away from
Oh, yeah.
your
Yeah,
friends,
and it's
away
just
from
the
your
two of us trying to organize it. And even then, it's a hassle sometimes.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it can be
right,
kind of a kind of a bitch, but you pull 6 people together, and now you're working with 6 different schedules and
Yes.
6 different lives, and
Yes.
that takes a lot of commitment. That takes a lot of sacrifice, and there's a lot of spouses and kids out there that are just like, really? Yes, this is what I love doing.
There's lots of people that don't have their hobby, quote unquote. Not to, I'm not trying to demean what you're saying, but just
It's
whatever the hobby
absolutely
is,
a
right?
hobby. Absolutely.
That their spouse is cool with it. A lot of times that's like, what are you doing? Like, you could be home with me or doing something else. No, those things are important. That's why I brought it up, right? It's real crucial. Like, I'd like to consider myself in my head a better than average singer. I played shitty campfire guitar when I was young.
Okay.
And that was just me trying to jam with a couple of friends. You're organizing something. Man, that takes a lot after working all day. I'm proud of you.
Right.
Say the two of us have trouble. That's good, man.
Have you ever
Right.
tried herding cats?
Yeah. Or what
It's
was
kind of the same thing.
or what was the term your brother used for his kids? Putting a coat on an octopus.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to put a winter coat on an unhappy octopus.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's all
Sometimes
the
it's
same.
tough. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's all the same. We just have the guys are great individually. All the guys in the band are really great dudes, and I enjoy spending time with them. And here's where I pull out the ace. The midpoint for pretty much everybody is my house.
Oh yeah, so you're garage jamming at your place every time.
So
Yeah.
also being the drummer and having all of the gear, all the sound gear,
Way
all the
easier to
drums,
use
all the everything.
Way easier to move all the other equipment than the drum kit.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Way easier.
more than half of our rehearsals are at my house, and so
So give us a breakdown with your band. What are you guys playing? Like, what are you guys sticking to? What's your groove that you found?
we've found 90s alt rock.
Alt rock.
All right,
To be-
I can end this whole thing right now. Tonight, the band gets together, and you find out you get to play one last song before the meteor hits the earth. What song you playing today with the band?
That we already have in our hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something you got ready to go right now. This is the last song you get to play. The meteor's going to crash on Earth. What are you playing tonight?
Flagpole Sitta
I might have to listen to the band, man.
by
That's
Harvey
a good,
Danger.
That's a good answer. Okay, so not
Fair.
Freebird. Not Freebird. I was trying to get a gauge here, right? Not Freebird.
Right. Right.
That's good. Okay, that's
All
excellent.
right.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And you've been with the same group of guys for a while now?
Yeah. So the first time that we were ever in a room together was August of 22. That was
There it is.
that was the first time that we ever hey, first time,
Right.
shook hands. And,
So fairly recently.
yeah, and
Not even 2 years yet.
yeah, not even 2 years. And so over the last year and a half, we've had a dozen places that we played.
Excellent.
Maybe 10.
Yeah,
10,
that's
12.
a band. That's a
Yeah,
band, buddy.
yeah.
Yeah.
5,
For
6 a year. So some of them are pop-ups and others are planned a little further ahead. And we try and keep the places kind of low-key.
Right.
Because if we suck, then, well, at least
listen,
it's going to
man.
be in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
place where we're not going to be in front of 1,000 people.
that's
yet.
why we were putting up billboards and shit about the podcast for a while, right? Like, make sure people are listening before we let everybody know. I got you.
Right.
Yeah, we feel you, buddy. We feel
Yeah.
But that's the thing that people need to understand, the common tie that we have between this podcast and your band is that, like, you're not gonna fit everybody's taste.
Right. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that I know that, well, I've talked to a couple of them. They're like, yeah, you guys are fun on your podcast, but it's just not my thing. Like, you don't.
you. Cool.
And I'm like, fantastic. Thanks for giving it a try. I appreciate it.
That's all you can ask,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you can't cater to everybody, right? There's a trillion different tastes in the world.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, from what you told me, the band might have good taste. I like to hear that.
And I want to put it out there while we're recording. I know, like, you've told me about several of your actual concerts that you guys are putting in. I'm gonna shows, concerts,
Shows.
gigs.
Gigs.
Yeah, gigs. You've told me about the 2 or 3 of them. Dude, if you weren't playing 2 hours from my house, I'd probably go see it.
Okay,
Now,
so
Go ahead. We're going to say the same thing, but you go ahead. You're the guest, sir. Yeah.
To be fair, at one point in time, 3 of the 6 of us in the band lived in Rochester.
Right.
And the one band member of ours that really was the one responsible for putting us in the same room together. He was in Rochester, and he's well connected.
He knows a lot of
He
people
knows
down there.
a
Yeah,
lot of people in that area, and so through him and his wife's connections, there was a word and a rumor that got around that we had this little garage band thing, and that we sounded pretty decent, and we should. So the first one we kind of got just shoved into, and we were all nervous about it, and it was all anxiety and everything, but we got through it, and it was a lot of fun, and we ended up having just as much fun being sober and being behind the mics and up on their little tiny stage.
But having a good time, right?
But we all ended up having a really good time, and then after that it was kind of like, yeah, we could probably do this again.
Right.
And then one show turned into 2 turned into 4.
Yeah, see, it's
and then-
addictive, right? Like,
Yeah.
a couple times
Yeah.
I had a couple of buddies who were playing and singing in bands, and I'd often step in between singer sets.
Mhm.
Hey, Jason, come on up and do the next, 2 or 3. Man, I loved being in front of people right off the bat.
Yeah.
I wasn't even nervous a bit the first time, but everybody else is like, yeah, you weren't you scared? I'm like, I should have been, I guess. I always love the attention. I'm like, oh, they're listening to me sing. This is fucking great.
Yeah.
And Jason Down plays it pretty well. I've heard him play guitar and sing. It's pretty impressive coming out of that.
Well, I'm always
What
up
an
for starting
interesting
another
compliment.
band.
Backhanded compliment. I appreciate that.
Always up for starting another band. I can have 2 bands if I want.
Listen,
I
here's
don't sing. My wife. It was funny because we were at a friend's
Dominic.
Christmas
Shout
party.
out Dominic Campbell.
Yep. Yeah, we were at his Christmas party and they were doing a karaoke thing. And I'm like, go ahead, honey. Do your thing. And everybody's like, are you kidding me? Like, holy crap, she can sing. She has a beautiful voice.
So I know we've gone off the rails here. So for everybody who is still listening, thank you. But it's going to be this for another couple minutes. So
Right.
just FYI, if you're still listening, thank you. She specifically told me, I don't know if this is entirely true, but your wife seems fairly forthright to me. She said this was one of her 1 or 2 or 3 go-tos when she used to sing all the time.
Yep.
ABC by the Jackson 5.
Yep.
He's not exaggerating. His wife knocked that out of the park.
Right.
There was 3 or 4 of us sitting around looking at each other going, can you fucking believe this shit? Like her. That voice comes at her.
Yeah,
Your wife,
tiny
your
little
wife
crew.
really does knock that out.
Yeah, she does.
Nice.
I sound like a dying cow. That's why I'm never behind the mic. This is the sexiest that you hear this voice. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, that's something anyway, man. So
I do some lead vocals for our band as well. Our poor vocalist, although he's a trained vocalist, he can't get through all the songs that we've chosen for him to get through.
well, that'll happen sometimes.
So,
Yeah.
pushes them a little bit.
So we give him a little bit of a break, and I hop on the front mic for half of the second set typically. So
Nice.
gives him a break in between.
That was basically the same sort of thing I was doing for my couple buddies in their band. Just give them a break.
Yep.
Not because they couldn't handle it, but
Yep.
their second half of the show is way better if they get to take a 2 or 3 song break. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they knew I wasn't
Absolutely.
bad enough that people would walk out of the door. Like,
Yeah.
I was a stopgap. I was a plug. Like I said,
right.
slightly better than average singer.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And he's got a
that's
drum
cool.
set at home himself, so he's got plenty of capability to hop in on the drum set. So it's kind of fun. He and I get to switch instruments.
And again, if you're just trying to have a good time, which is kind of what I was getting at
For
when I
sure.
first brought it up, you got to have something outside your day-to-day job.
Yeah,
You gotta
break it
have fun,
up, man.
right? And
Yeah.
don't listen. I'm not saying ignore your family or anything for anybody listening, but if it takes you away from your family a little bit of the time, the mental health that you get back of that, and then you're not mad at your spouse, and you do your part and let her have a thing or him have his thing. It's successful, kids. If you're young and you're struggling, yeah, have a thing and let your spouse have a thing, or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Like,
Yeah, and if you can kind of join in every now and then with them, spend some extra time with them.
yeah, go
Dude,
see their thing, encourage their thing, whatever.
It is so important to just let your better half or whoever you're with just get away from you for a little bit.
Yeah, it's not an offense. You're not a bad
No,
person
yeah.
because your wife can't look at you for 3 hours every Wednesday night for something like
Right. Right.
So interestingly enough, in our house, like I said, we have more than half our practices are always at my house, and especially the last rehearsal before a gig is always at my house.
God
'cause
bless
then
your
the
wife.
Final. You know what though? What I found so interesting, because I've talked to her about it several times. Like you
got to check in about it. Yeah, you got to check in.
We've got insulated ceilings and all the precautions, but I'm telling you, we get loud. And she said, yeah, you know, there's more oftentimes that we're just dancing along with what you guys are doing instead of this, instead of just sitting somewhere doing it. We're dancing while we're doing it. It's like, you know, something that could be, you know, totally removed. And I'm in a different headspace.
That could be
and
problematic
they're
in a
different
household,
headspace.
right? Like,
It could be really bad, but there's a lot more energy and good things that come out of it in my particular case. I feel really blessed that that's the case in my house, that it's everybody enjoys it, everybody loves it.
Right.
So
No, that's pretty impressive.
even my one dog, our female dog, she will come down if I'm downstairs drumming, just playing by myself, practicing or whatever. She'll come down and she'll literally lay at my feet while I'm drumming.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just hang out, just
Poor
wait
dog.
right there.
She's deaf already.
I mean, yeah, the dog is deaf, right? But loving, a sweet dog, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but that dog is deaf for sure.
My
Or on its way.
On her way. She
well
might
on her
be.
way.
Yeah,
well
she
on her way.
absolutely might be.
so my I sorry for going down this tangent.
Sorry.
I want to say this story. So when my oldest was in high school, she was an avid saxophone player, and she did.
Oh, yeah.
She was really good at playing the sax. Like, I wanted her to get better, just for her own good. Like, but she could play the fucking saxophone, and had the 3 dogs that I had at the time. It was so damn funny. She could play any note on that saxophone, but if she hit a B flat, those dogs would start howling like they're dying. Whatever is the B flat scale for those poor animals, one would start and then the other 2 would just join in. And you would think that, you know, the world's ending.
So,
Man, have we spun down a rabbit hole, folks.
Yeah, but
One
this is what we get.
one particular symbol of mine, when I hit that one particular symbol, it's like a dog calling.
Really?
The dogs would just come like, oh, yep, hey, what's going on? What do you have? Well, I can hit 13 other things here, and you're just coming to this one thing?
Right.
What's wrong with you?
It's interesting how dogs are, right?
God love fucking animals, eh? So, changing topic here real quick. Thank you for everybody who listened through the whole music diatribe there. Back on track here
It's
real fast.
important.
Yeah, no, we did want to point it out because, yeah, having something you love outside of work is crucial. John and I both really believe that.
sure.
Our last guest that came in, John had to ask what was at that recording the difficult question of the guest. So since he did it last time, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to take the difficult question this time. Okay?
Okay.
The one that could go bad, possibly. It's not going to, but he took one last time. I'm taking the bullet for the team this time.
All right, here we go.
How do you feel about the fact that they call us Sparkies, and I'm sure you're aware they call you guys Sparklers vernacularly? Obviously, it's meant to be derogatory. How do you feel about it, buddy? You've heard it. I know you've heard it.
Yeah, I know you've
Give
heard
us
it.
your feedback on
Half
Sparklers.
watts.
Half watts.
I've heard
Yeah.
half watts. I've heard some really negative ones, actually. And you know what? I'm going to
Yeah.
double down here in the spirit of honesty. I might have said the word scissor fairy once or twice.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I've grown up. But I had in the past maybe said something terrible like that. A cancelable offense from 2018.
I think that comes through other channels because I came from the non-union side, and that was not a tool in the tool bag.
The scissors.
The scissors were not a tool in the tool bag. That's not the way that works.
Listen, man.
But they are now, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
God, listen,
Yeah,
God
and they
love you
always
for
have
being
to be new and sharp and everything. Yeah.
right. Yeah, God love you for being here, Pete. But you knew there was going to be a little abuse here. Okay, so we're into the abuse part of the
Absolutely.
program, right?
Totally down. Totally down.
You don't have. You're not even making an effort to call them anything else, like some technical name, like sanitary engineer for a janitor or whatever. Like, you still just call them scissors. Like, you should at least try to make it sound like it's not just a pair of fucking scissors, right? Like,
Yeah.
can we agree on that?
Yeah. So I try and get my crews to work with other tools. I try to get them to see and understand that their scissors don't have to be used for everything.
Also, I'd like to point out, I'm not hating on the fact that you have a very useful multi-tool in your arsenal.
Oh,
I just wish you called
right.
it something better than scissors. But continue, buddy.
I don't think people understand that those scissors are very specific scissors.
and they're
They're not
people
your
call them their
household-
snips. You can definitely hear them called snips.
Right.
But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you guys have been called a lot of things. Do you remember the first time that you and I met and what I managed to I was thinking about this last night. I don't remember the name of the project, but it was downtown. You and Kevin Rebelia was
Yeah.
yeah. I came out and I went full bore on you guys. Just giving you a handful of shit, and that's when I knew Pete was cool. When you can look at a guy and you never met and be like, yeah, well, you know what? If you just went up 96 volts and a half an amp, you'd be a real electrician. And the guy takes it like water on a duck's fucking back and spits back, and I don't even remember what you said back, but it made me laugh.
You know what? If I may, since we're telling first time we met Pete stories, great. May I offer mine?
Absolutely.
In Pete's defense here. I'm pretty sure the first time Pete and I met was when we were moving John and Ashley from the little townhome thing into the home, right? That was the first time we met, right?
Right. That's
So
exactly
could
right.
we agree that not only were they not prepared to be moving that day in advance of us showing up, but also there was many things that we packed into that moving van that should have went in the trash. Can we agree on these things?
We can agree.
Yeah,
definitively
I
on
thought
those
we
things.
could. Yeah,
Absolutely.
fuck you, John. You should have thrown away half the furniture and a bunch of the other stuff.
You know what? A lot of that stuff did get thrown away.
Dude.
Just not that day.
Just not
Dude,
that
we
day.
were-
Just not that day.
But you do it that day so you don't have to move it, right? You bite the bullet and you think in advance. That's the day Pete and I met.
These poor guys. Did you meet there or did you meet on the golf course?
No, the golf course was after.
Oh,
Golf course was
The golf
after.
course
So-
was definitely after, yeah.
These poor guys showed up. I had I'm going to call it a very stressful moving time.
As it is for
yeah.
everybody, buddy.
Oh,
As
yeah.
it is for everybody.
I managed to buy a house and have to get everything moved in a weekend because I was going back home to remodel the wife's house to sell it. So I called up.
That's right.
I called up
That's
some
right.
of
I
my.
remember that.
I called up some of my closest buddies, and Jason's giving me shit now for it, and Pete, you're giving me shit now for it, but you motherfuckers were giving me shit that day. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
John,
I know.
Why?
Yeah.
I was
Wow.
there. I
Yeah,
remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And as I'm sitting there going, just put it in a box. Just scoop it up, throw it in the box. I'll deal with it later.
Guns still in the cabinet. Not
Yep.
laid out,
Yep.
not wrapped
No,
up.
not
Still
wrapped.
in
No,
the fucking
yeah.
cabinet.
No.
Okay, my
That's
defense.
true.
Bed
the only-
frames not broken
The
down.
only defense I have.
Oh, and the one was like almost 200 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my!
And a pain in the ass to get through that little doorway and then around the corner to the stairs that were 4 feet away.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have taken the chainsaw to the goddamn thing.
Yeah, that was my motorized bed frame.
Yeah,
That thing
yeah.
weighs like 285
I
pounds.
know.
Just saying.
Yeah.
We were there, man.
But hey, pussies, my oldest daughter helped me move that thing up there. Leave me alone.
So, folks, this is what happens on a podcast where everybody knows one another a little bit. I'm going to reel us back in here.
Sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
there's no
This is
sorry. This,
great.
yeah,
This is
sometimes
great.
this is how we go. We just get off the rails a little bit, folks.
Fantastic.
I want to recap a little more seriously, though, because we got to some great points earlier and some fun stuff later on. The point of having you on, not only to get to know you a little bit, Pete, was also the fact that with a lot of trades, they have certain stigmas. Okay. And whatever the low voltage stigma is, you pointed out really clearly, I think, that not only are there multiple directions that you can take as far as your focus within your trade goes, but also it takes a lot of thought and a lot of learning potential and keeping up with the new technology. It's a viable trade, and I think it can be successful for a lot of people. Obviously, it's successful for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just wanted to recap that, I mean, after what we talked about, listen to it and realize that there's so much to this. This is a crucial, valuable trade that's going to be nothing but more useful as technology continues to interact more in our lives.
Yeah.
This is an investment in your future.
Yeah. Right.
You know, think ahead. You'd be open-minded to any of the trades, but I'm glad that we had Pete in so he could give us his insight on that trade. And I mean, there's things I learned today that I had no idea.
Right. And there's so many things, Pete, that you're certified for. And I don't think people understand what that takes. Like, can you give us kind of a breakdown of the certifications that you have inside the low voltage field? Because I don't think people understand, like, there are classes and education that you have to take in order to do this.
Yeah. And especially when you get to the higher level, when, you know, as I stated earlier, like the stadium level things, and ball fields and ballparks, and the things that you have to have gone through testing and sat through classes and been on site and been tested and been verified that you're doing things exactly the way that they say to do it. You got to spend time to do that. And then you can kind of take those and you can scale it up, you can scale it down, and go a lot of different directions with that.
But there's certifications, like I was saying, there's, like, people don't realize, hey, you know what, you go into these condo units, the door access, you know, that's a certification because it's a security access point, right? The AV audio system, like you said, in stadiums, like, you have to be certified to know, hey, you know what, that sound is going to travel X amount of feet before it distorts.
Yeah.
You know, everything else. Those jumbotrons that are in the middle, churches, right?
Yeah.
Anything that takes some sort of human interface.
And some rolling with the punches, because I'm a big proponent of making sure there's always somebody on site who can make the decisions as they fly. But making sure that everybody knows that even within this trade, there are so many disciplines and so many routes you can take and focuses you can do. It's not just hooking up phones and computers, right, kids? Like, let's be honest here. That's what I want to get out today.
Right. And if anybody's ever thinking about a smart home, the smart home is all low voltage.
Right.
Like, it is, there is electrical, there's high voltage, what we call high voltage backbone, but it is all low voltage.
Yep.
That's right.
The whole thing.
Yep.
Like, you don't get away from that. If there's any time that a low voltage person is absolutely crucial above any other trade, it's in a smart house. Yeah. In a true smart house.
Yeah.
Right.
And things are going more that way all the time now, right?
All the time.
Yeah, we want to make sure
All the
everybody
time.
knows, like, within every single trade, there are subsets of how you do your trade. Don't think that if you're listening to this, that you can't focus or generalize on one particular thing you really like, you're really good at.
Right.
It's not, don't get yourself sidetracked thinking it's not varied things. Every trade has so many paths.
Right. And in my specific little trap route, in my little corner of our industry, the fun part for me is what all the other trades don't get to see.
For example,
when everyone's done and the rooms are finished and nobody's moved in yet, and all of the things are clean and finished.
Every little bit of mess was definitely you.
And then
I got you.
But when things get turned on and get tested and the sound system goes through, that time period of testing the sound system is something that nobody else in the trades gets to deal with or see. Nobody gets to experience any of that. So the entertainment part and the audiovisual portion of the projects, almost all contractors that are on a site, general contractors on down, they never get to see that portion of it because all of that happens during the time period when everything's done.
Yeah, everybody's gone.
Everybody's
And
gone.
We've talked that everybody gets their moment of completion on a project where you get to have like, that's great. It's nice that you have the same thing.
That's my moment.
That's your moment. Yeah.
That's my moment when I can go into the building. And when I used to do building control systems where the entertainment stuff would drop off for the whole night, system would shut down at a certain time, come back online at a certain time in the morning, things would go where they need to go. When you program automation, things like that, being there the night before at 10 o'clock, watching everything shut down, and then being there at 5:30 the next morning, watching it all turn itself back on automatically. It's something pretty cool. There's a pretty cool feeling about that. That is the fun part of the project, and nobody else gets to see that. So as an AV person, that's kind of the spot that you grow into, is getting to those moments of real satisfaction.
And people don't understand that doesn't just magically happen. The automation side that you're talking about, it doesn't just magically happen with a push of a button.
Somebody
that is
right. Somebody listening right now who, and again, we hope we get to people eventually who aren't even in the trades yet, who are trying to make a decision about their lives. Imagine sitting at a gigantic stadium and you're watching a sporting event, football game, whatever. You're like, man, the sound system in here is amazing. Now imagine being the person with a little bit of education and a little bit of effort and years of experience who gets to sit and listen to that same thing the first time it turns on and go, I did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, you think listening to it is cool. Imagine finding out you're the one who put it in.
Right. Exactly.
So, and that's what people like Pete are out there doing all the time.
Yep.
As I mentioned, a crucial trade, I said at the start, and an important one, and one that is going to be, I think, more important every year for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hey, we get those moments as electricians is like, hey, the lights turned on. Thank God. Right.
Yeah.
I did that. I worked on that.
Yeah.
But dude, when you have a full immersion of a system that touches every part of your soul, think a low voltage guy for that.
Yeah.
Like, give him a hug. Be like, dude, that thing's fucking cool.
Listen, I don't know about the hug thing John
absolutely.
said, but the sentiment was right. I don't know if I agree with the action plan, but we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that on social media after the fact here, folks. So real quick before we wrap up here, I just wanted to remind everybody, please reach out to us. If you've got any emails you want to send us, isawpodcast@gmail.com, or on Instagram @isawpodcast. Please DM us with anything you got. Very importantly, we have the phone number now, so 507-607-ISAW, which is 4729.
Yes, sir.
So 507-607-ISAW. Send us messages, leave us whatever you want. If you opt in on the internet, we can contact you back. Otherwise, you can just unilaterally send us grief.
I would like to actually interject.
Please.
I did learn some new regulations and stuff like that. You don't need to. The only is... So if you sign up online, it's so I can send you a text saying that our episode dropped.
Okay.
If you text us in, we'll be able to talk to you just fine.
Oh, great. So
Conversations are totally cool.
perfect. All right. So very easy. Yeah.
Right.
But reach out to us is what I was getting at. Thank you for the technology update. My technology partner, John. 507-607-ISAW. Text messages, voicemails, phone calls, all that. If you got lucky, I might even answer it because it goes in my phone. So, but I'd like everybody to also rate, review, and subscribe. I know it means nothing to you and it means the world to us. So if you don't mind doing that when you're online, and anything else that you want to send us, whether it's comments, questions, we'd certainly take any questions you have for Pete after what you heard today. We're going to forward those on to him. Yep. And if you reach out, we obviously will show you out here until we get so many we can't do it every week. But what are you going to do?
Right.
That's wishful thinking. Anything else that I'm missing today, buddy?
I want to give a shout out to Paul. He's one of our recent signups. He's a good
Paul?
dude. No, Paul on our job site.
Excellent.
On my job site. He's the pipe fitter foreman.
Shout out,
pretty
Paul.
cool dude. Giving me a bunch of shit for the definitions between pipe fitters and sprinklers. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
they get kind of antsy
a
about
little
that
touchy about
sometimes.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but thanks, Paul, for signing up, dude. I really do appreciate it. I know I said thank you on the job site, but anyway. And yeah, the thing I want to point out to everybody is where you can find us. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Those are the places that I've dialed us into. This seems to be working out all right. But also on the fact of YouTube, 60% of you guys listening aren't subscribed. So
rate, review, and subscribe.
give us
please,
a
folks.
subscribe, give us a follow. Let us know that you're there. We'd love to interact with everybody. Really.
That basically sums it up. Now, before we finish up here, I'm really sorry, Pete. I got to put you on the spot one more time, buddy. And only because I'm all about keeping people honest. Okay.
Perfect.
So earlier on in the episode, you mentioned that you were a married man. That's correct.
Correct.
And you got 2 daughters, Catherine 16, Penelope 11, right?
Correct.
Not once during this whole episode did you mention your wife's name. Sorry, buddy, but I gotta call you out. You didn't bring it up once. I would have wrote it down.
Well, that goes to show you how comfortable I am in the room.
Can we shout?
Everybody
Can we
knows.
shout your wife
out
out?
to my beautiful, lovely wife, Anna.
Anna. Shout out Anna.
And she has a hard time putting up with me sometimes. I can definitely
Every
say
spouse
that.
does, right?
If I was easy to get along with, God knows what my life would be like. Yeah, thank God for our wives.
And while we're at it, I missed a couple people on the job site.
Shout 'em out.
Ramiro and Ellie and Mike. That whole team that I'm working with right now is just a bunch of rock stars. We're having a ton of fun and we're getting a lot done. So we're having a good time.
Shout out to all that low voltage crew that you got running underneath you, man.
Yeah, I heard Leah, I heard Al, I heard Jake. We had new guy Adam and Ramiro, Mike, and Ellie. And Ellie. Shout out to all you. We appreciate all your hard work out there.
And another shout out to LB3.
LB3.
So, yeah, if you've
come
seen
see
a little
us
bit better
at,
band on the road, check them out.
We're going to be at Douglas Saloon in Orinoco on April 20th. If you're a big fan of that date,
There you
it's
go.
a Saturday night, 8 p.m.
My wife's 51st birthday.
Are you kidding?
Maybe we'll figure out a reason to make it up to there for the 420. That'd be all right.
There you go. I
so
just
we
got my
end-
fog machine today, so
Listen, if that's not a garage band and folks, I don't know what is. I just got my fog machine today.
Right.
Next week, dry ice is coming from Amazon.
it is.
We like to end all the episodes with our guests to give our motto, the same one that we give every week, the thing that we want all our tradespeople out there to at least remember if they remember nothing else during the week. So if you don't mind, Pete, thanks again for being here. We really appreciate you. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Cheers to you guys.
Sláinte.
And if you wouldn't mind, if you could end our episode with our motto, sir.
I will absolutely do that. And first and foremost, before I do that, thank you guys so much for having me out. It was such a great time,
Happy
such a
to have you,
blessing.
sir. Thank you.
I really
you, sir.
enjoyed being here with you guys. I very much appreciate being on. Your work keeps the world working.
That's damn right.
Amen, brother.
Thanks, everybody. Be
Amen.
safe this week.